Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. What does food mean to you? This is Maria Liberati. Join me with this week's guest. I'm really excited this week. We have award-winning cinematographer, producer, director, author Roger Sherman. He's here to talk about one of his latest documentaries. It's called The Soul of a Farmer. Really interesting. Is related to Italian actress Isabella Rossellini. And he'll tell us the relationship of the film to Isabella. And it's a really interesting story about the life of a farmer and what goes into, there's a lot of hard work that goes into growing really good fruits and vegetables. And the documentary shows you that. It's really a very interesting documentary. So we're excited to welcome Roger Sherman, and I'll be sharing my recipe for pasta and bean soup. It's November and it's chilly now. There's a chill in the air. If you're on the East Coast, I'll be sharing that bean soup recipe also. So stay with me. And I just want to thank everyone that's been sharing and reviewing the show. Thanks so much. The audience has grown and we're listened to all over the world. So thanks so much for joining in and listening and sharing. So please review the show, share a review. And at the end of the month, we're doing a giveaway drawing for a copy of one of my books from the Basic Art of Italian Cooking series. If you review the show and share it on social media, or take a picture of one of the recipes that I give on the podcast and hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show, if you do the recipe at home yourself, or just hashtag the Maria Liberati Show and take a screenshot of a review that you've placed, and you'll be entered in a drawing for a copy of one of my books from the Basic Art of Italian Cooking. And if you have any ideas, comments on, any of the episodes or an upcoming episode, if you'd like to recommend a guest or a topic, please let us know also. And if you go to the new website, themarialiberatishow.com, there's also a section there where you can select nonprofit organizations to feature. Send us your favorite and we'll check it out. And if they're selected, we'll be featuring them on one of the shows and also on social media. So check out themarialiberatishow.com. To all of my listeners out there, I'm hoping that you made it through all the storms that we've had this past fall. All over the world, we've had some really incredibly dangerous storms. So I'm hoping you all made it through the storm safely. And, storms and natural disasters sometimes force you to reflect on all the little special things in your life to be grateful for. If you were able to weather all the storms with friends and family, be grateful. They're a special gift, and sometimes powers above send us these types of events to make us appreciate the things that we already have. George Herbert, the English poet, said, "Storms make the oak grow deeper roots." Wow, so true. And nothing warms the heart and soul like a pot of homemade soup. This is one of my favorites from the Basic Art of Italian Cooking Da Vinci style. It's a pasta and bean soup, and I'm going to give you the recipe for that. And don't forget, if you get to cook this at home, please share a photo, hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show, and you'll be entered in a giveaway drawing to win a copy of my book. And we will be putting sharing photos on the website, themarialiberatishow.com. So here's the recipe for the pasta and bean soup from the Basic Art of Italian Cooking Da Vinci style. Pasta e fagioli is the Italian name. So that's 1 pound of dry cannellini or chigi or speckled beans, whichever ones you prefer, soaked in water for 8 hours. 1 celery stalk, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 handful of fresh parsley finely chopped, 1 small stalk of fresh rosemary, 1 pound of egg pasta freshly made or dry. That's a short pasta or noodle. 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, a 1/4 cup of plain tomato sauce. Boil the beans in abundant water with a stalk of rosemary and 2 cloves of garlic. Cook for 1 hour till the beans are tender. Place in a food processor with some of the cooking liquid to make a creamy liquid. Set aside and place in a large pot. In a sauté pan, place in the olive oil, chopped celery, chopped parsley. Sauté for 2 minutes, add in the tomato sauce. Boil for 3 minutes, then add into the bean mixture. Place over heat. When boiling, place in the pasta. Cook the pasta till al dente and serve hot with a drizzle of olive oil. Yum. This is so good and definitely a great dinner for some of those chilly fall evenings. Enjoy. And you can get your copy of The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Da Vinci Style on my website at marialiberati.com and artoflivingprimamedia.com and anywhere books are sold online. I am really excited today to have Roger Sherman. He is director, cinematographer, producer, 2-time Academy Award nominee, correct, Roger? And also, did you win an Emmy, a Peabody? Did I see that? Is that correct?
Yes, and a James Beard Award.
And a James Beard Award. Oh my goodness. So I was really excited to have you today. And also you worked on a film related to Isabella Rossellini. I'm such an Italian film buff also. So as I said, I was just so excited to talk about this new film that you did. So the new film is titled, I just want to make sure I get that correct.
The Soul of a Farmer.
Yes.
And it's about this fabulous, passionate woman named Patty Gentry, whose farms 3 acres on Long Island. Her farm is called Early Girl Farm. Yes. And she worked in the food world. She was a chef for 25 years in big time New York City restaurants. And then she transitioned and became a farmer. And when I filmed in 2016, 2017, fall and spring, and then came back in 2019 to film again to see her progress, she'd been a farmer for about 10 years. So she'd been very experienced, but always learning, always so excited about what it was that she was growing. You know, my chefs are going to love this. It's just, I found out about it. I can't wait to grow it. She sells to hot restaurants, to chefs in Brooklyn. And it's a struggle.
Yes, it sounds like it. And the one thing I do have to mention, I love, they sent me a quote in the press that Isabella Rossellini calls her the Picasso of vegetable farmers, or she's the Picasso of vegetables, I guess. Yes. So she knows how to grow. Apparently she grows like lots of different vegetables and
yes, that's right. Her landlord is Isabella Rossellini, who's, yes, as you can imagine, quite a wonderful character. Yes. And Isabella does call Patty the Picasso of vegetables. Yes. And Isabella's land rings Patty. Isabella bought, I think it's about 38 acres to save from development. It's just an hour from New York City. So you can imagine there's great pressure to develop that land. And as Isabella says in the film, 2 days, I'm not going to try to imitate her Italian accent, please forgive me. She says, I was in buyer's remorse 2 days after I sealed the deal when my phone rang, and it was Patty calling to say, I'm looking for land to farm. And Isabella said, oh my God, I'm looking for a farmer. Wow. And it was love at first sight. Yes. Isabella got a master's in animal behavior and does television. You can look her up on YouTube, and talks about animal behavior. And she is growing not for meat, but for observation. She has goats and pigs and heritage chickens that Patty says I can give her throwaways to my animals. And what she says is, but I think I go through it first, because I think Patty throws away things that other farmers would sell. Oh, yes. Yeah, she's probably has a higher
level of, yes, definitely. Wow. Oh, that's exciting. So I didn't know that about Isabella, that she got a master's degree in that. Wow. And I'm glad to hear it's not for eating, because I'm a vegan, so a vegetarian vegan. But anyway, yes. Oh, that's so interesting and so exciting. So I know it sounds like Patty has a lot of challenges and things like that. People don't realize, to grow exceptional vegetables, it is really hard work. It's just like anything that you do, you have to put hard work in to get an exceptional product. But we were just talking about this. I thought this would be interesting. So Patty was going to be with us today, but she can't. So tell us, this is another kind of a challenge for an independent farmer. Yes.
Absolutely. She called me last night and she said, it looks like there's a gale coming in. And so I am gathering at sunrise my little team. It's a mostly female team that works with her at the farm. Mm-hmm. And we are harvesting because we have to deliver to Brooklyn. Either later today or tomorrow. I don't remember exactly what it was, but she sends her best wishes and hello to everybody that's tuning in. But the farm comes first. My film, The Soul of a Farmer, I think what it does is it bursts the romance we have of farm to table. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful for those of us that can afford farm stands or farmers markets. To buy from them, from the farm, for the farmer, sitting across the table. It's a constant struggle, and today is perfect example of that. Yes. Patty farms 3 acres, and it's all about the soil. Mm-hmm. It's all about improving the soil. Yes. And her land 50, 60 years ago was a army barracks. Mm-hmm. So the first few years, she was constantly digging up cement, constantly digging up pavement. I mean, you can imagine the soil was not in good shape. Yes. She would put 15 tons of something that was supposed to help the plants that she was growing, and it didn't take. Yes. And her consultant said, well, it's putting it in and having it work are 2 completely different things. So she has struggled enormously with improving her soil. Wow. At the end of filming, she says, this past year, I planted 25. Doesn't seem to make sense, but we can get deeper into it. She says, I planted 25% less, and I got 50% more. And that's all because she has worked so hard to make the soil better. What also that means is she's throwing away less. Mm-hmm. So she's not working. Obviously, she works incredibly hard and mostly 7 days a week. Yes. But it means that she gets more out of what she's growing. She gets more out of less. She doesn't have to have as much waste. She doesn't have to send Isabella's pigs as much. Yes. And it's a struggle. And she says in the film, she's about to turn 50 in 2019 when we were finishing filming. Yes. And she says, it's not the work that tires me out. The work gives me energy. It's the worry about money. And she's always worried about money. And every winter she struggles with, what am I going to do this winter to get through it? Luckily, her partner, Jennifer, who now after filming is her wife, has a good job and can help her a little bit to tide her over. And so it's a lot of stress. It's a tough thing, but she loves what she does. And the chefs love what they send her. And, I went in New York City where I am, we have the most fabulous farmers markets, and Union Square Farmers Market on Saturday was just overflowing with the most beautiful things. It's so warm. We bought tomatoes still, the end of October, tomatoes, and they were selling corn.
Yes.
No way, but I looked at some carrots. They're all dirty and like they've been pulled out of the ground and just put in the bucket.
Yes.
You would never stand. When you get Patty's vegetables, when a chef gets it, they are the most beautiful. They are trimmed. It's like she's taken a tiny little scissors and that's not true, but she would if she could.
Artwork. So she does really her artwork with her vegetables. And I can definitely attest to, because I have just about an acre and I grow my own, but I don't grow as much as she does. And it's only for my family. And it is difficult. I will definitely attest to that. But for what she's doing, I can just only imagine. But, I'm sure she's really passionate about what she does, because that kind of work, you have to really be passionate about what you do, and basically love what you do.
Exactly.
And just be, you don't really care what the time you have to put into it. It's just a labor of love. I think that's probably.
Absolutely. She's not retiring and moving to the Bahamas on being a farmer.
And I'm sure she has other chefs that are really happy that she's not, because she's probably getting them, superior vegetables. And that's really important. People don't realize too, the quality of the things that you cook are relying on the ingredients that you get. So, to have that step there, to have somebody like Patty producing those types of vegetables, puts any chef a step further in the dishes that they create.
Exactly. And while Patty's vegetables are organic, as Missy Robbins, who has 2 restaurants in Brooklyn, one called Lilia and one called Missy, and was named by Eater the best chef in New York City a number of years ago. And they're very good friends, and they started out as kids in kitchens together. But she says it's not just about organic. She says, I've gotten organic vegetables that don't taste very good. So it's a step beyond organic. Just because you're getting organic doesn't mean
it doesn't.
You're doing the most out of it. So
it does.
Yeah, it's she works so hard, and you talk about you love Italian food, and this is I guess you have a focus on Italian.
Yeah, well, that's what I studied. Yes, I studied the culinary arts there. Yes.
In Italy.
Yes, in Italy. Yes, in Italy. Lived there. Yes, lived
there.
I
want to interview you.
Lived there for many years. My family had a farm in Abruzzo, which is one of the most beautiful regions, and lived there and in Rome for many years and studied the culinary arts there. Yes.
Italian cooking is among Patty's favorites, if not her favorite. And at the end of the film, she gets up very early in the morning and she's almost like a poet. She's a fabulous writer. Every Saturday, she started a CSA, community supported.
I was going to ask you, does she have a CSA that people can, if people are in that area, can they join? Or waiting list?
Chefs, I don't want to say are fickle, but they have to work to please their customers. So one week they might order 40 pounds of something, and the next week they order nothing of it. And Patty's kind of stuck. One year, a chef said, I really want you to plant a whole field for me of whatever it was.
Yes.
And then that chef got into other things and never ordered 1 pound of vegetables.
Oh my goodness.
And Patty had to plow it under. And it's not done out of meanness or something. Everybody is so busy. So 2019, at the end of the film, Patty starts a CSA, Community Supported Agriculture, as I said, and doesn't really know what's going to happen, if it's going to succeed.
Yes.
And one week she had put long beans, which I've never heard of. They're string beans that are a foot and a half long, and they're delicious.
They are.
And she had put them on the list for the chefs. not one chef ordered long beans.
Wow.
But as Patty always does, she turns negative into super positive, almost like a religious experience.
Yes.
And she said, now I get to give every CSA member about a pound of these incredible
long
beans.
Yes.
And the CSA people, they pay in advance, not the chefs.
Yes.
And they love to come to the farm, and they're all hugging each other and catching up on the week before and talking about what they're going to make. And they can walk around the farm and clip their own herbs and basil and other kinds of things. And they are greeted on Saturday morning at about 7, which means Patty has either stayed up well into the night before or written her letter to them at 6 in the morning, where she tells them what they're getting. And she does it in the most poetic fashion. And that's the last scene of the film, where she's reading the letter to you, and she's looking in the camera and telling you what you're going to get. And then she talks about what you could do with it and how you could cook it. And it's quite a beautiful thing.
I can imagine. Food is it's an inspiring thing, as well as, so, and it brings people together too. So it's so nice. It sounds like it's a great scene, just that Saturday morning when people are coming out to get their stuff from the CSA to pick up, to be able to pick their own vegetables too. Not everybody has that experience. And if you live in the city and you're not able, it's great to get that experience also. Well, that's great. So Soul of a Farmer, people can view this. It's streaming now, right? Online. People can just.
Yes, it's streaming on iTunes, Apple TV, and on Vimeo. And if you go to my website, florentinefilms.com/Sherman, and then you'll see a list of films, and you can click on Soul of a Farmer and other films, because I have lots of
we were going to talk just real quick. So tell us about some of the other films. I'm really excited about hearing about this, because I know you won a James Beard Award. So
yes, I won a James Beard Award for a film called The Restaurateur. And it's a portrait of Danny Meyer, who's one of the most famous and celebrated restaurateurs in America. Danny has restaurants like Union Square Cafe and Gramercy Tavern and The Modern and Shake Shack. And I followed him for the creation of 11 Madison Park and Tabla. And I followed him. What was supposed to be for 3 months ended up being 10 months, which is not so good for a restaurateur and quite good for the drama of a filmmaker.
Yes.
I also did a film called In Search of Israeli Cuisine. In Search of Israeli Cuisine is a portrait of the Israeli people told through food, conflict and all. And we go all over the country talking about what I think is the hottest food scene in the world. I'm Jewish, I say, and very secular. I never really considered going to Israel until a friend basically dragged me there on a food press trip. Okay, I'm always looking for new ideas. It's snows in the north. It's 120 degrees in the south in the Negev desert. It's a country so small, you can drive most of it in 2 hours. They don't know from locavore because everything's local. 12 kinds of tomatoes all year round, the most delicious things you can imagine. And so it was a wonderful experience, except I came home and I started telling people about this incredible food scene. And one of the reasons why it has this incredible food scene is because all of the immigrants that have come over the decades, and they've kept their food tradition. So they've opened restaurants in, Moroccan and Tunisian and Russian and you name it, and they're there. And I came home and people either didn't believe me or they laughed at me. And I thought, well, you've just discovered a great idea for a film. And I stopped counting at 160 film festivals and special screenings around the world.
Oh my goodness.
So that's available. You can find that.
I just want to stop you. I don't mean to interrupt you, but in that whole vein of like Israeli and Jewish cooking, so some of the best food in the center of Rome, I'm sure you've been to Rome, Italy. Did you ever go to the Jewish ghetto?
Yes, the
oh my gosh,
absolutely.
The food there is just incredible. And it's just incredible. And they have like the things that we think of in America as like traditional, Jewish foods, but they're just nothing like you've tasted. So you probably know there's a real famous bakery there that there's like lines around the whole area. I can't think of the name, but anyway, yes.
And I'm actually next March leading a trip called the Official in Search of Israeli Cuisine Food Tour. And we're going to go to many of the restaurants that we went to. We're going to go to a research and development agricultural facility. Israel is so innovative in things that they have invented. And so anybody that's interested in coming with me in March, you can find that on my website too.
Oh, yes, great. So people can find that on your website. That's great. So, and I'm sorry, you were telling us about some other interesting projects?
Those are my main food projects. Yes. I am also a food photographer. I shot for Sever magazine and Newsweek and other magazines. But let's get back to Patty. This is what
So yes, I just want to, because I have to wrap up the interview too. So I just want to say, so people can look up the film on it's Soul of a Farmer. They can find it on your website or the FlorentineFilms.com website, correct?
Yes, /Sherman, or they can look me up. You're going to see the signer of the Declaration of Independence first. It's been a couple of 100 years since Roger Sherman signed the Declaration of Independence. No relation. You'd think I could bump him off by now.
Oh, wow. Yes.
You're going to have to scroll down, and usually I come up next.
There you go. And does Patty have a website, or are we just looking up, is it Early Girl Farm?
She has Early Girl Farm on Instagram. You can follow her. And I have Roger Sherman Films on Instagram. And you can watch the film on iTunes or Apple TV and Vimeo. And if you watch it, please send me a note. I'd love to hear what you think.
Definitely we will. And so everyone, please watch that film if you want to see all the hard work that it takes to grow exceptional foods, definitely. But even for more than that, it's just beautiful, a beautiful film about food. So thanks again, Roger, and much success with this project and your trip also. That sounds
Thank you, Maria. Thanks so much. Let's be in touch.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. Special thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle, and this week's special guest, Roger Sherman, award-winning producer, director, cinematographer from The Soul of a Farmer and Florentine Films. Check out that film. You'll really enjoy it. And don't forget to share if you make the recipe that I shared during this episode, the pasta and bean recipe from my book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Da Vinci Style. Please take a picture, share the picture of the recipe that you've made. Hashtag it The Maria Liberati Show on social media or in the comment section on my blog, and you'll be entered in this month's giveaway to win a copy of one of my books from the award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. And you can find me at marialiberati.com, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on my new Roku channel, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, and on LinkedIn at M Liberati. And as mentioned, you can find my book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking and The Basic Art of, anywhere books are sold online and at artoflivingprimamedia.com. Until next week, peace, love, and pasta.